There's a manhunt, but I don't know what state it goes in. It was released a couple days ago on YouTube. Kind of a weird thing is some college kid running around, supposedly, I don't know, with a bag of guns or something. I don't know. I don't know exactly where this. They haven't really gave him predictions on if he's crossed state lines or if he's completely gone. But those were two state troopers. What's interesting is I went into Irving, I don't know, it was like 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago or a while back. I went through this apartment area, or no, it wasn't an apartment area, it was like a hotel. And it was about maybe 30, because 30 or maybe 40 state troopers in one area at this. It was like a holiday. It wasn't a Holiday Inn. It was something like that, like a business kind of meeting or something of state troopers or something. Every single lot all the way around this place had a state trooper. I don't know if they were maybe parking the state trooper vehicles there in Irving or something was going on. It was like a convention. It was like a state trooper convention or something. But anyway, you can kind of tell, I mean, like, state trooper, this is like a state trooper kind of area. But I remember I got pulled over by a state trooper in New York, and I had my wife, my kids were in the car. They were in the back. And it was funny because we were on like they have these parishes in New York, especially outside of New York, and it was like we were headed to Olean. I called it Olean, but anyway. So he pulled me over, and I guess I was going about, I don't know, normal speed that you go to, but it was very foggy. You had to look out for deer and stuff. I was real kind of on edge because of deer. You know, I had my now ex-wife and the two kids in the car, and it was funny because when he pulled me over, I had stopped, and it was very, very, very foggy. Oh no, there it is, two Hell's Angels. It was very, 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 very foggy. So when I stopped, and I pulled over. I guess I was going maybe, I don't know, 55 or whatever. And the parishes, when you get into a parish or a smaller town, it can go down to 40 miles per hour or whatever. So I was going like maybe 15 miles over what I thought. Well, when he pulled me over, you know, I gave him all the information and everything, and then he asked me, did you know you were speeding, or did you see the sign, you know, the speeding sign? And right there in front of me, like, you know, right there where that sign is, it says Oklahoma, there was a sign that said 45 miles per hour, but it was ahead of me. I said, well, I can see that sign. I see that sign right there. And so then he went back, and he came back, and I think he was in the wrong area because of the fog. So he was in the 55 mile per hour area, but I was just about to enter in the 45 mile per area. So anyway, when I left, it was funny because my ex-wife at the time texted her sister. It was like, well, what's the officer's name or whatever? It was a state trooper. But what was funny was I left and I went into the 45 mile per hour zone. But back then, I don't know if we were using Waze or whatever where they can warn you. But they're tough up there. But anyway, I went into, he asked me where I was going. Like, where are you going? And I said Olean. He said, Olean? And I said, oh, Olean. Which is weird, because Olean is actually where the one and only Scarface got started. Did really bad. He was a really horrible gangster in Olean, and they kicked him out and everything. He went to Chicago and became famous. But it was weird because of course he let me go, and so my kids were asleep, and my wife was there. Eventually, I had to go. It was a big deal. It seems like every time I would go on vacation, I'd get like a parking ticket or something would happen. It's kind of like the Chevy Chase vacation moment, you know. But he let me go, and we went on and everything. But in Maine, when I lived in Maine, you got to be real careful, because a lot of the cops there, you can't even tell they're police officers. They're in like undercover cars, or they're in regular trucks or whatever, and they really have to look for speeders or people that are speeding, and it'll change. The speed limit will change drastically. You'll be going 50 or 55, and then all of a sudden you go right into a 35 mile per hour. It's like they call it a parish or a village or a town. It's like all of a sudden you're in like a school zone out of nowhere. Bam, So you have to stay on edge and look at these little signs. Of course, now that Waze is changing, I wish Waze would mark, you are now on a 35 mile per, instead of just showing, I think it can beep or whatever, and tell you or now what they need to do is get the cars to freaking tell you, like me, they can tell through GPS and everything, and then it would just be like almost impossible to get into a speed trap, because speed traps are still out there, and a lot of them are marked on Waze, and a lot of them are marked on Google. Google Maps can mark them. But what Waze does that's a little different is they actually do just when you see a police officer, right? So they mark where police officers may be, while Google marks what's called speed traps. Okay, so there's a difference between what Waze does and what Google Maps does. Google Maps just says speed traps, while Waze will just mark wherever they are, because you don't know, they're probably changing up they have to keep up with what people know if they're going to get you in a speed trap, right? And they're getting kind of competitive about it, so they'll move those speed traps around a little bit, which is harder. It's harder. But back in the day, we had those radio frequency things that would go like right here, and they'd plug in, and it would, I don't know if they still have those, but you could it would tell you when they're around. So then you would slow down, and it'd go beep 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 beep. Uh-oh. There's another one right there. But I think they probably still have the radio ones, and those are probably the best one anyway. Oh, there's another one right there. Maybe they found that guy. Well, I'll check in with YouTube tonight to see, because that's usually how I get all my news anyway. It's a lot of crazy stuff going on right now. Just logging in, and just crazy stuff going on. Just I get all my stuff off of YouTube. I will sometimes go on television, but you can get like exact stuff and explore around like what you want to, if you want to see news from the Huffington Post, or if you want to see news just from like YouTube or Vice, or you want to see news, whatever news that you may trust, right? Fox News or whatever news is out there, you can explore it through YouTube.